imagine not being able to move your legs? One minute they're moving, and then the next minute they're not. So, those moments when they hit you like a lightning bolt, when all of a sudden your phone rings and you get this phone call and it's a loved one and they say to you, scared, I can't move, I don't know what to do. This was the phone call that I got from my mum. So let me paint this picture for you. So she makes this phone call and she says, I need your help. So I jump in my car and I'm racing across town and my head is going like a zillion miles an hour because I'm starting to think about how on earth am I going to get mum into my car? Because the doctors categorize her as being obese. And so what had happened was that she had managed to ring the ambulance and they said that it wasn't an emergency and that it would take a long time for them to get there and that, if there was somebody else that could help her, then that was her better option. And so hence the reason that she did make that phone call to me. And so I'm thinking about this as I'm racing across town. And all of a sudden, I remember my dad's old wheelie walker that is gathering dust in the back shed. And so when I got there, I went out to the shed and I grabbed that wheelie walker. And so I brought it back inside. And so, with a lot of sheer determination, I think, and a lot of adrenaline in my body, I've managed to get her onto the wheelie walker so that I could push her to my car. So I parked my car the closest I possibly could to her unit. So then she has a ramp going up into her unit. So I had to push her down the ramp. And, that took a lot of strength to be able to do that. And so I managed to get her out to the car and that was great. But then the next challenge came from actually being able to get her up off of this wheelie walker into the car. Thank goodness, like she had her arms and she could help sort of like, push off. And so with that, I then managed to get her in the car and drag her across the seat so she had her legs on the back of the seat. And so off we went to the emergency department at the hospital. And once I went inside, they came out, they popped her on a bed and then took her inside. And so this is where it really started to get real for me because I'm sitting there in the emergency department and she's fallen asleep after having all of these tests done. And as she's sleeping, I'm looking at her face, and all of a sudden, it's like deja vu. It's like I feel like I've lived this moment before. And what I realized in that moment was I saw my nana, but it wasn't just the fact that mum has the same health struggles as my grandmother did with these chronic illnesses that she has. But it was the fact that I saw the same features. And I'd never actually realized at this point that my mum looked like my nana because I always thought that they looked very, very differently. But in this moment, and from that moment on, I realized actually how much she did look like Nana. And so here's this story that I've lived in the past playing out yet again in front of me. Years ago, I was only a child, but here I am now as an adult. And so the doctors ran every test that they could think imaginable, and they couldn't really find an answer to the question. And so basically, we got sent home without having an answer. But this is where it got a little bit more real even still. My mum's not one to show her emotions or to complain about anything. And she actually said, I'm really, really scared. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is bad because she's actually saying something about it. And so what happened eventually was that she started to get some movement back in these legs. So with the help of that wheelie walker that I had found in the shed and her strength in her upper body, she managed to get upright and she was moving with very stiff legs as such. It was, very robotic type of movement. But at least she could move. And the thing is that this decline, I think, felt like it was really sudden, but I started to think about it, and the warning signs had actually been there all along. She was starting to get little aches and pains. There was twinges, there was swelling and numbness. And of course, she'd go, it'll sort itself out and, it would get brushed off. But here's the thing about the body, it whispers and it tells us what's going on. But then at some point, if we keep ignoring it, it's going to start yelling at us. And so watching mum's world shrink like this was just an absolute wake up call for me. It was like this flashing warning sign going, hello, hello, are you listening to this? Is this going to be your future? And that's a really hard pill to swallow. And it scares the living daylights out of me, to be honest. I can't imagine not being able to move freely. And just every single thing that you do requires movement. And if that movement's taken away from you, I'm not going to be able to live independently. And that's that's a really, really difficult thing to think about. And so here's the thing. Look, we all know that exercise is good for us. And this is nothing groundbreaking at all. But what happens is we wait, right? We wait for motivation to come, or we wait till we have more time, or we wait for the perfect time. And these list of reasons, these list of excuses, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. They keep growing while our mobility, it starts to decline. It starts to get less and less. And so if you think about it, simple things like being able to cook your own meal or being able to do your washing or to have a shower, they're just going to feel like a mountain to climb. And here's the real heartbreaking thing about it. Those activities that light us up from inside, those things that give us such purpose and that we love so much, and that might be playing with your grandkiddos, or it could be pottering in your garden, or swimming on the beach, or hiking a mountain, or skiing a mountain. Doesn't matter what it is. But these things they're slipping away. But there is a lot of good news as well, too. Like it doesn't have to be this way. There's always some type of movement that's available to us. We just need to know where to look and find that will to begin, that will to take action. So here's my challenge for you today is that you stand up right now and you move. And it doesn't matter how you move, it just means that you're moving because our bodies are meant to move and they are pretty good at telling us what they need. So if I think about me sitting at my desk, I'll be engrossed in something, head down, and I've got those fingers on the keyboard and I'm going for it. And yet I can feel my bum's getting numb, my back's starting to feel stiff. And if I was to get up, my knees feel like they're locked in, and they don't want to move. My body's telling me those signals, but I've just I've just totally ignored them. And so what we want to do is we want to get more self-aware, more connected to our body. And so the biggest tip that I'm going to give you today is this, is to simply just start with a few minutes and doing a body scan. This is like lay down on the floor, lay on your bed, wherever you want to lay. It doesn't matter. Or you could even do it sitting up. Now, if you're doing it sitting up, you're not actually stretching out your body. So laying down's probably the better option, right? But what you're going to do is you're just going to close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that. And then you're going to systematically work from your toes all the way up to the top of your head. And what you're doing is you're just paying attention. So you're thinking about, is there any tension here? Does it feel tight? Is there like, am I noticing some heat around some part of my body? Does it feel uncomfortable? So just noticing those different things, because this is your body telling you that it needs something. So what I would also suggest is that you start to track this. So what you notice that you are paying attention to. And so over the week, you could go back and look at your journal and go, okay, here's what I noticed here. And look at this. It's consistent. So I'm looking for those patterns and I'm discovering that pattern. And so therefore I can start to question, what is it that is causing this? What do I need to do to make this change? So it's something really, really simple to get you moving again. So paying attention to your body, thinking about the signals that it's telling you, and then looking for some type of pattern and taking some type of action, even if it is just to get up off of the seat and start moving around. We just want to move a little bit more often. We want to keep moving, we want to keep living, and we want to keep remembering to listen to our body's whispers, because we don't want to wait until they start screaming at us. So I want you to take care of that beautiful body of yours by just simply paying a little bit more attention and moving a bit more. Take care, ladies, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.